Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're fascinated by the ancient world, the divine beings that shaped it, the heroes who fought against impossible odds, and the epic battles that defined civilizations for centuries, then you've come to the right place. Here, we dive into the captivating world of Greek mythology, where mighty gods ruled from the heavens, controlling the forces of nature, destiny, and life itself. From the creation of the universe to the fall of legendary heroes, Greek myths are filled with intrigue, drama, betrayal, and triumph. In this world, the gods are not distant or detached. They walk among humans, meddling in their affairs, falling in love, and waging wars that could destroy entire civilizations. From the towering heights of Mount Olympus, the gods watched over humanity, but also played a dangerous game of power, jealousy, and vengeance. Meanwhile, the mortal world was home to some of the greatest heroes ever known, men and women destined for greatness, who were chosen by the gods themselves or chosen by fate to undertake perilous quests. Today, we will explore these legendary tales, beginning with the earliest gods and the rise of the Olympian deities, each with their own unique powers and personalities. We'll unravel how these gods shaped the world, fought against primordial forces, and in many cases, turned against each other in a dramatic struggle for control. So sit back, grab your sword, and join us as we delve into the myths that have stood the test of time and shaped our understanding of the ancient world. Before we dive into today's adventure, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're always the first to know when a new video is live. And if you're excited about exploring the myths of ancient Greece, be sure to like this video to show your support and help others discover these timeless tales. Your likes and comments mean the world to us. Now, for today's journey, we'll start at the very beginning of Greek mythology. We'll meet Cronus and the Titans, the first generation of gods, who ruled over the world long before the Olympians. But power struggles and betrayals in the cosmos will soon lead to an epic battle between the old order and the new. The story of the Titans' fall and the rise of the Olympian gods is one of the most dramatic and fascinating tales in mythology. As we travel through these ancient myths, we'll uncover how Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades came to hold the power of the skies, seas, and the underworld. And trust me, this is just the beginning of our journey. We have so many incredible stories ahead, from fierce heroes to monstrous creatures and beyond. So, if you're ready to explore the ancient world of gods and heroes, grab your sword, put on your armor, and join us on this adventure. The world of mythology awaits. Let's go. As we step back into the distant past of Greek mythology, we enter an age long before the Olympian gods took their place as the rulers of the world. At the dawn of creation, the universe was not ruled by the gods of Mount Olympus, but by a different race of divine beings known as the Titans. These were ancient gods who came before the Olympians, and they were led by Cronus, the youngest of the first-generation Titans. But, as with all tales of power and fate, things were not as they seem. Cronus was the god of time, and he ruled over the cosmos with immense power. In his early years, he overthrew his father, Uranus, the primordial god of the sky, in a brutal act that set the stage for everything that would follow. With Uranus out of the way, Cronus became the ruler of the universe, and he and his siblings, the other Titans, dominated the world. However, Cronus's reign was not destined to last forever, and the seeds of his downfall were already being sown. His actions, driven by fear and paranoia, would lead to a dramatic series of events that would change the fate of the gods and the world forever. Despite his immense power, Cronus was consumed by fear, a fear that one of his children would rise up and overthrow him, just as he had overthrown his father. To prevent this from happening, Cronus took an extreme and horrifying step. He swallowed each of his children as soon as they were born, fearing that they might one day challenge his rule. His first wife, Rhea, the Titaness of motherhood and fertility, could not bear to watch her children suffer. With each birth, Cronus swallowed their child, including Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Each of these children was devoured in a desperate attempt to maintain his control over the universe. But Rhea, devastated by the loss of her children, secretly gave birth to her youngest son, Zeus, in a hidden cave. She tricked Cronus by giving him a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes instead of the newborn baby. Cronus, not realizing the deception, swallowed the stone whole, thinking it was his latest child. Thus, Zeus was saved from Cronus's wrath. And little did Cronus know that the child he had spared would one day be the very one to bring about his downfall. As Zeus grew older, he became more and more determined to rescue his siblings and challenge his father's tyrannical rule. Once he reached adulthood, Zeus, with the help of his mother Rhea, devised a plan to free his siblings from Cronus's stomach. He tricked Cronus into drinking a special potion that made him vomit up the children he had swallowed, one by one. These were no longer the same children Cronus had once devoured. They were now full-grown gods, ready to take revenge on their father and reclaim the universe. Hera, Hestia, Demeter, Poseidon, and Hades were freed and joined Zeus in his rebellion against Cronus. The stage was set for the most epic battle in Greek mythology, the Titanomachy, the war between the Titans, led by Cronus, and the Olympian gods, led by Zeus. For 10 years, the two sides clashed in a fierce war that shook the very foundations of the cosmos. The Titans, with their immense power, fought hard, but the Olympians were determined to win back their freedom and overthrow the old gods. With the help of powerful allies, such as the Cyclopes, who forged mighty weapons for the Olympians, and the Hecatoncheires, creatures with 100 arms and 50 heads, the Olympians finally gained the upper hand. After a long and brutal war, the Olympian gods emerged victorious. Zeus, the son of Cronus, was the ultimate victor. With his lightning bolt, he struck down his father and defeated the Titans, who were imprisoned in the deepest, darkest parts of the underworld, known as Tartarus. Cronus and his followers were defeated, and the reign of the Titans came to an end. The victory of the Olympians marked the beginning of a new era. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades divided the world among themselves. Zeus took the sky, Poseidon took the seas, and Hades became the ruler of the underworld. The Olympians now ruled the universe, but their reign would be anything but peaceful. The gods, though victorious, would face their own challenges and conflicts, some of which would shape the very fabric of the world. With the fall of the Titans and the rise of the Olympians, a new chapter in Greek mythology began. The gods of Olympus were now the ones in charge. But the world was far from settled. The power struggles, the drama, and the wars would continue as the gods and their mortal champions shaped the future of the world. With the fall of the Titans and the rise of the Olympians, the stage was set for a new era of gods to rule the heavens and the earth. After the Titanomachy, the great war between the Titans and the Olympians, Zeus emerged victorious. He defeated his father Cronus, freeing his siblings, and claimed the throne of the gods. As the youngest son of Cronus and Rhea, Zeus was the one who would reshape the world and lead the Olympians into a new age of power and glory. Now, let's take a closer look at Zeus, the god who became the ruler of the heavens and the symbol of divine authority. Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus is the most powerful and revered of all the Olympian gods, the ruler of the heavens and the god of thunder, lightning, and the sky. Born to Cronus and Rhea, He was the youngest of his siblings. Yet it was Zeus who would eventually lead the charge to overthrow the Titans and establish the Olympian gods as the new rulers of the world. As a child, Zeus was hidden away by his mother, Rhea, after Cronus swallowed all of his siblings. Zeus grew up in secret, away from his father's sight, and when the time came, he returned to challenge Cronus. With the help of Rhea, Zeus tricked his father into vomiting up his brothers and sisters, and they returned to the world fully grown, ready to take their revenge. Thus began the Titanomachy, the war that would reshape the entire cosmos. In the aftermath of this war, Zeus claimed victory. With Poseidon and Hades, his brothers, they divided the world among themselves. Zeus became the ruler of the heavens, Poseidon took the seas, and Hades ruled the underworld. From his mighty throne on Mount Olympus, Zeus would reign supreme as the most powerful being in the universe. The thunderbolt of power. Zeus is most famously known for wielding the thunderbolt, a symbol of his ultimate power. Forged by the Cyclopes during the Titanomachy, his thunderbolt represents not just his command over nature, but his ability to maintain control over the universe. With it, Zeus could call down lightning, summon storms, and bring forth thunder, symbolizing his authority over the heavens. The thunderbolt was not just a weapon for destruction, but also a tool for enforcing Zeus's justice. One of the most iconic moments is when he used it to strike down Niobe, the mortal queen who boasted of having more children than Leto, the mother of Apollo and Artemis. As punishment for her hubris, Zeus sent a plague that killed all of her children, demonstrating the destructive power of his thunderbolt. But Zeus's control over the sky was not just about punishment. He was also the god who controlled the weather, sending rains to nurture crops, bringing sunshine for harvests, and summoning storms when needed. This gave him dominion over nature itself, allowing him to shape both the divine and mortal realms through his command of the elements. His role as the god of the sky also meant that Zeus was the embodiment of law, order, and justice. While he could bring down devastating storms upon mortals who defied the gods, he was also the protector of those who showed respect and reverence. As the enforcer of divine law, Zeus maintained cosmic balance by ensuring that order prevailed in both the realms of gods and humans. The king and queen of Olympus. Though Zeus is revered as the most powerful of the gods, his relationship with his wife, Hera, is complex and full of tension. Hera, the goddess of marriage and family, was both the official consort and the fierce adversary of Zeus. Their marriage was marked by Zeus's numerous infidelities, which led to constant conflict between them. While Hera was the goddess of family and unions, she often found herself at odds with Zeus due to his many affairs with other goddesses and mortal women. One of the most well-known stories that exemplifies this dynamic is the tale of Heracles, the greatest of Greek heroes. Zeus fathered Heracles with the mortal woman Alcmene, but Hera, consumed with jealousy, made Heracles' life miserable, causing him to suffer greatly, including the infamous 12 labors. Despite Zeus's many transgressions, Hera remained married to him, and together they ruled Olympus. In some myths, their partnership was depicted as one of divine governance, where Hera and Zeus worked together to maintain order among the gods and guide mortals. However, their relationship also showed the darker side of power and marriage in mythology, where love was often intertwined with jealousy, betrayal, and vengeance. Even though Hera's anger at Zeus's infidelities often led to major conflicts, especially with his lovers and their offspring, the couple's marriage remained central to the power structure of Olympus. Zeus's divine rule, however, would not have been as stable without Hera by his side, even though their relationship was far from harmonious. The father of heroes and gods, Beyond his position as the ruler of the gods, Zeus played a critical role in the creation of some of the greatest heroes in Greek mythology. His many affairs, both divine and mortal, resulted in numerous offspring, some of whom became legendary figures whose deeds would shape the course of history. Perseus. Perhaps the most famous of Zeus's mortal children is Perseus, the hero who slayed the Gorgon Medusa. With the help of divine gifts from Athena and Hermes, Perseus embarked on a perilous quest that would make him one of the most celebrated heroes in Greek myth. Zeus played a guiding role, ensuring his son's success through divine intervention. Heracles, one of the most famous heroes in all of mythology. Heracles was born to Zeus and the mortal Alcmene. Despite Heracles' extraordinary strength and bravery, he faced incredible challenges, often as a result of Hera's jealousy. Yet Zeus remained a fatherly figure, helping Heracles through some of his most difficult trials. The 12 labors of Heracles became a series of mythic tests, highlighting his enduring legacy as one of the greatest heroes in Greek lore. Achilles. Another notable son of Zeus was Achilles, the legendary warrior of the Trojan War. Zeus was directly involved in the fate of Achilles, influencing his path in the war and his eventual death. The stories of Achilles and Heracles highlight Zeus's role as a father, not just to gods but also to the mortal world, where his children were often destined for greatness or tragic fates. Zeus's role as a father extended beyond these well-known figures. His interactions with both mortal and divine children show his deep connection to the world of men and gods. He was a protector, a guide, and at times a bringer of misfortune, all roles that defined his position in mythology. Zeus's reign as the king of the gods was not just defined by his overwhelming power over the skies, but by his role as a father, protector, and ruler. His many relationships, both harmonious and filled with conflict, reflect the complexity of his character. His children, whether they were heroes like Heracles or goddesses like Athena, carried his legacy throughout Greek mythology, cementing Zeus as a central figure in the pantheon of gods. As the god of thunder, justice, and the heavens, Zeus remains one of the most influential and enduring figures in mythology, whose actions shaped not only the world of the gods, but the mortal world as well. With his leadership, Zeus set the foundation for the Olympian order that would dominate the cosmos, and his legacy continues to echo through the myths that have survived the ages. As the ruler of the heavens, Zeus maintained control over the skies and upheld justice among gods and mortals alike. However, he was not alone in his reign. His brothers, Poseidon and Hades, were also powerful figures with dominion over the seas and the underworld, respectively. Now, let's dive into the world of Poseidon, the god of the oceans, earthquakes, and horses, and discover his role in the cosmos. Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea. Poseidon is one of the Olympian gods, the brother of Zeus and Hades, and he is the god who rules the seas. Poseidon's power extends over the oceans, controlling all aspects of marine life and weather. He was responsible for causing storms, hurricanes, and tidal waves, and sailors feared his wrath while traveling across the seas. His trident, a three-pronged spear, was his most famous weapon, capable of stirring up the waters or calming the waves at his will. Poseidon's domain stretched beyond just the waters, however. He also had control over earthquakes and was known to cause tremors and land shifts when angered. In fact, he was sometimes referred to as the Earth Shaker, and many ancient civilizations attributed earthquakes to his influence. This made Poseidon both a destructive and a revered deity. He could both sustain life by nourishing crops with rain and floodlands with destructive tsunamis. Beyond the seas, Poseidon was also associated with horses. It was said that he created the first horse from the waves, and he was also the patron god of horses, revered by those who worked with these animals in ancient Greece. Poseidon's connection to horses, alongside his control of the seas and earthquakes, made him an unpredictable and mighty god, both revered and feared by the people who depended on the sea for their livelihood and transportation. The earthquake and master of the deep. Poseidon's power over the sea made him an essential figure in Greek mythology. He could stir the ocean to create storms, send massive waves to capsize ships, and cause violent earthquakes to shake the land. His authority over the sea was respected by sailors, fishermen, and anyone who relied on the sea for their livelihood. It was believed that a journey on the open ocean was only safe with the blessings of Poseidon, but those who angered him would suffer the consequences. The ancient Greeks saw the sea as both a giver and a taker of life, and Poseidon represented both aspects. He could provide bountiful catches for fishermen, calm the waters for safe passage, and even ensure the growth of crops by bringing much-needed rain. However, when provoked, he could flood cities, destroy crops, and wreak havoc with his earthquakes and tsunamis. As the earth shaker, Poseidon also had the power to cause earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Ancient Greece, which was prone to such natural disasters, would often attribute these events to Poseidon's anger. This made him one of the most feared gods, as his power was unpredictable, and his temper could destroy entire cities. A battle for the patronage of a great city. The contest between Poseidon and Athena for the city of Athens is one of the most famous myths in Greek mythology. The myth revolves around the idea of which god could give the greatest gift to the city of Athens, and in return be chosen as the city's protector and patron deity. This contest would also decide the identity of the city's namesake. Poseidon, known for his control over the seas and his destructive powers, offered a gift that was as mighty as the oceans he ruled. He struck the ground with his trident, causing a saltwater spring to burst forth. From this spring, he created a magnificent horse, a symbol of strength, speed, and nobility, which the Athenians would later use in warfare and transportation. The horse represented Poseidon's vast power over the seas, and it was a gift that showed his mastery of the natural world. However, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, courage, and strategy, presented a more thoughtful gift. Instead of raw power, she offered the olive tree, a symbol of peace, prosperity, and longevity. The olive tree was not only useful for food and oil, but also provided wood for building and making tools. It was a practical gift that could sustain the city for generations to come, ensuring its long-term prosperity and survival. When the people of Athens saw the benefits of Athena's gift, they chose her as their patron goddess. Poseidon, angered by this decision, withdrew his favor from the city. His horse, although symbolizing power, was not enough to win over the hearts of the Athenians, who valued wisdom, strategy, and peace more. The olive tree, offering much-needed resources for the people of Athens, symbolized the practical and sustainable growth that Athena brought to the city. Poseidon, while defeated in this contest, was still a respected and powerful deity. The myth reflects the value of wisdom over brute strength in Greek society, where strategic thinking, long-term planning, and peace were often more important than sheer might. Nevertheless, Poseidon's association with horses and his role in controlling the seas ensured his continued importance in the ancient Greek world, even if he did not rule over Athens. This myth also illustrates the tensions between Poseidon and Athena, as well as the broader theme in Greek mythology where gods and goddesses often competed for dominion and power over cities, lands, and people. Poseidon's power was significant, but Athena's wisdom and understanding of the needs of Athens ultimately won her the city's patronage. Poseidon may not have been as prominent in the myths as his brothers Zeus and Hades, but his role in the world of gods and mortals was just as significant. As the ruler of the oceans, earthquakes, and horses, Poseidon was a god whose power extended across both the natural world and the human realm. He was revered by sailors, feared by those who lived near the sea, and worshipped in various coastal cities and regions. The myth of the contest for Athens, where Poseidon lost to Athena, showcases the values of the Greeks, how wisdom and strategy often triumphed over brute strength. Nonetheless, Poseidon's immense power was undeniable, and his influence was felt in every corner of the ancient world. His role as a destructive yet life-sustaining deity reflects the dual nature of the forces of nature itself: unpredictable, uncontrollable, and deeply powerful. Through his connections to the sea, earth, and horses, Poseidon's legacy has endured in both myth and culture. His figure continues to be a symbol of the mighty forces of nature, as well as a reminder of the ever-present dangers of the natural world that the ancient Greeks both feared and revered. After Poseidon ruled the seas and Zeus commanded the heavens, there remained one final domain that needed a ruler: the underworld. This is where Hades, the brother of Zeus and Poseidon, came into power. While Poseidon and Zeus are often seen in the myths, Hades is the more enigmatic and reserved of the three. But his role in the balance of the universe is just as critical. Let's now journey into the realm of Hades, the god of the underworld, and discover his influence on the fate of both mortals and immortals alike. The Lord of the Underworld. Hades is the god of the underworld, the realm of the dead, and the ruler of the souls who reside there. While his brothers Zeus and Poseidon dominate the heavens and the seas, Hades holds dominion over the final frontier where souls go after death. Unlike the vibrant and tempestuous realms of the sky and sea, Hades' kingdom was a dark and quiet place, often depicted as a realm of shadows, where the dead lived in a state of semi-consciousness, awaiting their final judgment. Although Hades is one of the major Olympian gods, he is often less visible in the myths. Unlike Zeus, who frequently interacts with both gods and mortals, or Poseidon, whose dominion over the seas is directly involved in the mortal world, Hades is a more detached figure. His presence is more subtle, and his realm is one that is both feared and avoided, as it represents the inescapable fate that awaits all mortals. Nevertheless, his role is essential to the overall balance of life and death in the universe, and he plays a crucial role in Greek mythology, especially regarding the souls of the departed and the afterlife. Hades is not just a god of death, but of transformation. He oversees the passing of souls into the afterlife, where they are judged and assigned to one of the various realms within the underworld. These souls could end up in the peaceful Elysian fields, the gloomy asphodel meadows, or the terrible Tartarus, where the wicked were eternally punished. Hades ensured that the souls of mortals moved along to their final resting places, and in doing so, he maintained the delicate balance between life and death. The final judge of souls, Hades is not merely the king of the underworld, he is also the final judge of the dead. Souls that enter the underworld are not merely allowed to wander aimlessly. They are judged and assigned to one of several realms within Hades' domain. The soul's destination is determined by the actions of the individual during their lifetime. Those who led virtuous lives might find peace in the Elysian fields, while those who lived in wickedness were condemned to Tartarus, where they would suffer eternal punishment. One of the most famous figures to dwell in Tartarus was Sisyphus, a king who tricked the gods and was condemned to an eternity of pushing a boulder uphill. only for it to roll back down each time he neared the top. This myth serves as a powerful reminder of Hades' role as the ultimate enforcer of divine justice. Those who defied the natural order faced unending punishment, while those who led virtuous lives were rewarded in the afterlife. Hades also had a role in the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, where Orpheus, the great musician, descended into the underworld to retrieve his wife, Eurydice, from the dead. Hades allowed Orpheus to lead Eurydice out of the underworld on the condition that he not look back at her until they reached the surface. Tragically, Orpheus failed the test and looked back, losing Eurydice forever. This myth is an illustration of Hades' dominion over life and death, and the consequences of defying his will. The abduction of Persephone. One of the most famous and significant myths involving Hades is the story of his abduction of Persephone, the beautiful daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest. The myth of Persephone's abduction explains the origins of the seasons, particularly winter, and serves as a symbolic narrative for the cycle of life, death, and rebirth in the natural world. According to the myth, Persephone was gathering flowers in a field when the earth suddenly opened up beneath her feet. Hades, who had long admired her beauty, emerged from the underworld in his chariot and kidnapped her, taking her to his dark realm to become his queen. Demeter, devastated by the loss of her daughter, searched for her tirelessly, neglecting the harvest and causing the earth to grow barren. As the goddess of the harvest, Demeter's sorrow made the world fall into winter, with no crops growing and no warmth from the sunday. Zeus, seeing the devastation on earth, intervened and sent Hermes to the underworld to retrieve Persephone. However, there was a catch. Because Persephone had eaten 6 pomegranate seeds while in the underworld, she was bound to spend part of each year with Hades in the underworld. For every seed she ate, she was forced to stay with him for a month, meaning she would spend 6 months of the year with Hades and the remaining 6 months with Demeter on earth. This arrangement created the cycle of the seasons. When Persephone was with Hades, Demeter grieved, and the earth fell into winter. But when Persephone returned to her mother, Demeter rejoiced, and the earth came back to life in the spring, bringing with it the warmth of the sun and the renewal of crops. Thus, the abduction of Persephone symbolized the eternal cycle of death and rebirth, as well as the power of Hades over the mortal realm, the silent lord of the underworld. Although Hades plays a relatively quiet role in many Greek myths, his presence is always felt, particularly in the areas of life, death, and justice. He is not a villain, as he is often portrayed, but rather an essential figure in the balance of the cosmos. His role in the cycle of life and death is critical to understanding the Greek worldview, where death was seen as an inevitable part of existence and a necessary step toward the next stage. Hades was often misunderstood and even feared, largely because his realm represented the unknown and the end of life. But in many ways, he was one of the more balanced and impartial of the gods. Unlike Zeus, who enforced justice in the heavens, or Poseidon, who controlled the seas, Hades' realm was the final authority over all souls. His decisions about the fate of the dead were final and unalterable, and this power gave him a unique place in Greek mythology. The myth of Persephone and Hades illustrates how death and rebirth are intertwined, and how the underworld, far from being a place of total darkness, is a necessary part of the natural cycle that sustains the world. Hades may not have been as involved in the conflicts of the Olympian gods or the great wars of myth, but his role in the Greek pantheon was nonetheless vital. As the ruler of the underworld, he governed the realm of the dead, where souls were judged and sent to their final destinations. His control over death, justice, and the natural cycle made him an essential force in the balance of life and death. While often misunderstood and feared, Hades' role as the keeper of souls and the bringer of final judgment cemented his place as one of the most powerful gods in Greek mythology. After we journeyed through the shadowy realm of Hades, we now move to the more vibrant and complex world of Hera, the queen of the gods and the goddess of marriage. While Hades ruled over the dead and maintained the balance between life and death, Hera's domain is rooted in the living, in the very fabric of family and the sanctity of marriage. Let's explore Hera, the goddess who stood as the protector of marriages, and yet whose own relationships were filled with drama and conflict. The Queen of Olympus. Hera is the queen of the gods, the wife of Zeus, and the goddess of marriage, family, and fertility. Her role in Greek mythology is one of deep importance, as she is responsible for overseeing the institution of marriage and the protection of the sanctity of family. Hera's duties as the protector of married life made her an essential deity for every married couple in ancient Greece. She was called upon to bless weddings, ensure fertility, and keep harmony within the home. In this capacity, she was seen as the embodiment of loyalty, protection, and the moral values that sustained familial bond. Hera's connection to marriage also extends to her role as the goddess of family. She is often portrayed as a matronly figure, a symbol of the ideal wife and mother. In this aspect, she is revered as the protector of women and the home. Her role was central to ensuring the stability of families and the continuity of bloodlines in Greek society, where marriage was seen as one of the most important social contracts. However, Hera's own marriage to Zeus was far from peaceful, and her life is marked by the tensions that arose from Zeus's many infidelities and the complex dynamics of divine power. Despite the tumultuous nature of her own relationship with Zeus, Hera remained a steadfast protector of marriage and family values. She was deeply invested in preserving the sanctity of marriage and punishing those who violated its sacred bonds. Hera's role as the goddess of marriage made her a revered figure for women, especially those seeking to ensure the stability and happiness of their unions. Couples would invoke Hera to bless their weddings, and she was believed to provide the strength and wisdom needed to maintain a loving and faithful relationship. One of the key aspects of Hera's power was her protection of women in marriage, ensuring that wives remained loyal and respected their husbands. She was also associated with the birth of children, as fertility was an essential part of maintaining family life. Hera was often depicted as a goddess who ensured that mothers were cared for during childbirth and that children were raised in a stable, loving environment. Despite these positive associations, Hera's own life was fraught with jealousy and anger, particularly toward her husband's numerous lovers and illegitimate children. Her complex relationship with Zeus reflected the conflict between her ideal of marital loyalty and the reality of Zeus's actions. The wrath of the jealous queen. The most famous aspect of Hera's character is her jealousy, particularly her wrath toward the mortal and divine women with whom Zeus had affairs. Although Hera was the wife of the king of the gods, she was often humiliated by Zeus's infidelities, and her jealousy became legendary in Greek mythology. One of the most well-known stories of Hera's jealousy is her punishment of Io, a mortal woman whom Zeus loved. To hide his affair with Io from Hera, Zeus turned Io into a white heifer. However, Hera soon discovered the deception and sent a 100-eyed giant Argus to watch over Io. Ultimately, Zeus sent Hermes to rescue Io, but not before Hera had her own revenge by sending a gadfly to torment the transformed woman. Hera also took vengeance on Leto, the mother of Apollo and Artemis. When Zeus had an affair with her, Hera prevented Leto from giving birth anywhere on Earth, forcing her to seek refuge on the floating island of Delos, where she eventually gave birth to Apollo and Artemis. In this case, Hera's jealousy was directed at Zeus's other lovers, whom she often punished with cruelty and relentless torment. One of the most famous and tragic stories of Hera's jealousy involves Heracles, the greatest hero of Greek mythology. Heracles was the son of Zeus and the mortal Alcmene, and Hera harbored a deep hatred for him because he was the product of one of Zeus's extramarital affairs. Hera made Heracles' life a living hell, driving him mad so that he killed his own children. She also imposed upon him the 12 labors, which were seemingly impossible tasks that he had to complete to atone for his madness. These stories exemplify Hera's destructive jealousy. She could not tolerate the affairs of Zeus, and her vengeance against his lovers and their offspring was both relentless and cruel. This jealousy is often portrayed as a tragic flaw, yet it also highlights Hera's devotion to marriage and family values, as she sought to punish those who violated the sacredness of these institutions. While Hera is often seen as a figure of jealousy and anger in Greek mythology, her role as the goddess of marriage and family made her one of the most important deities in the ancient Greek pantheon. Hera represented the ideal of a perfect marriage, one based on loyalty, mutual respect, and the stability of family life. Although her own marriage to Zeus was far from perfect, Hera's influence over marriage and family affairs was paramount in Greek society. As the protector of wives and families, Hera was honored in many places throughout Greece, particularly in the sanctuaries dedicated to her. One of the most famous was the Heraion at Argos, a large temple where rituals to Hera were performed, and where many Greek women went to seek her blessings for marriage and fertility. Her role in punishing the lovers of Zeus also cemented her as a figure of divine justice. While she may have been vengeful, her actions were often seen as a way to uphold the moral order of marriage. Hera's jealousy and wrath ultimately reflected the complexities of being a goddess of marriage in a world where fidelity was constantly challenged, even by her own husband. Hera's legacy endures as a symbol of marital devotion, loyalty, and the importance of family bonds. Her role in mythology highlights the complexities of relationships, both divine and mortal, and shows how the gods, like humans, are often caught in the tension between love, power, and personal flaws. Hera may have been the queen of the gods and the protector of marriage, but her character in Greek mythology is far from simple. As the wife of Zeus, she faced constant betrayal, and her jealousy often led to destructive consequences. Yet, her role as the goddess of marriage and family made her an essential figure in the Greek pantheon, one who maintained the sanctity of these institutions. Hera's fierce devotion to her own marriage and her protection of family life, though filled with conflict, symbolize the enduring importance of loyalty and commitment in Greek culture. While Hera's realm was that of marriage, family, and the sanctity of the home, we now turn our attention to another powerful goddess, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and the harvest. Demeter, the sister of Zeus, played an essential role in the survival of humanity and the fertility of the earth. Let's explore Demeter's realm, where the changing seasons and the cycles of nature are intertwined with her love and protection of the earth. Demeter is one of the most important and revered deities in Greek mythology, especially in relation to the cycles of life and the harvest. As the goddess of agriculture, Demeter had the crucial responsibility of ensuring that the earth's crops flourished, allowing people to grow their food, sustain their communities, and survive through the changing seasons. Demeter is often depicted with the cornucopia, a symbol of abundance and prosperity, and sometimes carrying a sheaf of wheat or a bundle of grain. These symbols reflect her deep connection to the earth's fertility. The ancient Greeks, whose livelihood depended on farming, looked to Demeter for blessings on their crops, praying to her for favorable weather, bountiful harvests, and protection from droughts, blights, and famine. Demeter was not only the goddess of grain but also of the entire agricultural cycle, which meant that she had control over the growth of all plants, from vegetables to trees. She was revered by farmers in rural communities, and in many ancient cities, festivals and sacrifices were dedicated to her to ensure a prosperous farming season. Among the most important of these was the Eleusinian Mysteries, a religious festival held in honor of Demeter and her daughter Persephone, where initiates would undergo secret rites related to fertility, death, and rebirth. However, Demeter's role was not just one of creation and nourishment. Her deepest connection was to the life-giving forces of nature, and her grief and sorrow were equally as powerful as her nurturing energy. The most significant and well-known myth involving Demeter is the story of the abduction of her daughter Persephone by Hades, the god of the underworld. This myth is central to understanding the changing seasons, particularly the winter, and the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth in Greek mythology. According to the myth, Persephone, Demeter's beloved daughter, was picking flowers in a meadow when the earth suddenly opened up and Hades emerged in his chariot. Hades abducted Persephone and took her to the underworld to make her his queen. Demeter, devastated by the loss of her daughter, searched the earth for her, but she could not find her. In her sorrow, she neglected her duties as the goddess of agriculture, causing the earth to become barren. Crops failed, and famine began to spread across the land. During this time, Zeus, seeing the suffering of humanity, intervened and sent Hermes to the underworld to retrieve Persephone. However, Hades, unwilling to let Persephone go, tricked her into eating 6 pomegranate seeds while she was in the underworld. Because of this, Persephone was bound to spend part of each year with Hades in the underworld. The compromise made between Zeus, Demeter, and Hades was that Persephone would spend 6 months of the year with Hades in the underworld and the remaining 6 months with Demeter on earth. Each time Persephone returned to the surface, Demeter rejoiced, and the earth flourished once again with life. However, during the 6 months Persephone spent in the underworld, Demeter would grieve, and the earth would grow cold and barren. This marked the arrival of winter. This myth not only explains the changing seasons, but also represents the cycle of life and death in nature. It reflects the growth and decay that are part of the natural world, symbolizing the death of the earth's fertility during the winter and its rebirth in the spring when Persephone returns to her mother. While Demeter is often associated with the harvest, her role extends much further than just agriculture. She is also the protector of life itself, ensuring the survival of both humans and animals through the cycles of the seasons. Without her intervention, the world would be barren, and humanity would face famine and death. As the goddess of agriculture, Demeter's role was vital to the survival of civilizations. She represented fertility, not just in terms of crops, but also in the fertility of the land and the growth of life. Her nurturing powers were not only essential for the survival of the people of ancient Greece, but were also a symbol of the earth's ability to regenerate and sustain life through the changing seasons. Her sorrow at the loss of Persephone led to the fall of the harvest and the arrival of winter. But her joy at Persephone's return brought life and vitality back to the earth. This myth speaks to the dual nature of Demeter, her ability to give life and take it away, symbolizing the life-death rebirth cycle that is so integral to the natural world. Demeter played an indispensable role in both Greek mythology and the everyday life of the ancient Greeks. As the goddess of the harvest and fertility, she was responsible for the very survival of mankind. Without her, crops would not grow, and people would face famine and death. She was worshipped by farmers, peasants, and the people who depended on agriculture to survive. Her role in Greek religion was central to many of the agricultural festivals, and her influence on the earth and its cycles was seen as vital to human life. The Eleusinian Mysteries, which honored Demeter and Persephone, were among the most significant religious events in ancient Greece, and they symbolize the deep connection between the divine and the natural world. Beyond agriculture, Demeter's legacy endures as a symbol of the Earth's cycles, the relationship between the natural world and humanity, and the sacredness of the harvest. Her grief over Persephone's abduction represents the vulnerability of life and the inevitability of change, while her nurturing role speaks to the hope of renewal and rebirth. Demeter is a powerful and compassionate figure in Greek mythology. As the goddess of agriculture and the harvest, she embodies the forces of life, death, and rebirth. Her myth about the abduction of Persephone explains not only the changing of the seasons but also the cyclical nature of life itself. Demeter represents the earth's fertility and its capacity to nurture life, but she also reflects the inevitability of loss, change, and the passage of time. Her legacy as a protector of life continues to resonate today as a symbol of the earth's cycles, reminding us of our deep connection to the natural world. After exploring the nurturing powers of Demeter, who governs the cycles of life and death through the harvest, we now turn our focus to another powerful goddess, Athena. Unlike Demeter, whose influence is tied to nature, Athena represents the mind, strategy, and wisdom. She is a goddess who is not only associated with war, but also with the arts, education, and intellectual pursuits. Let's now explore Athena, the daughter of Zeus, who embodies both wisdom and warfare. The virgin goddess of wisdom, Athena is one of the most revered and complex deities in Greek mythology. Born fully grown and armored from the head of Zeus, she is the goddess of wisdom, strategy, warfare, and arts. Athena's role in Greek mythology is multifaceted. She represents intelligence, rational thinking, and military strategy. But she is also the goddess who promotes peace and civilization. She embodies the ideal balance of intellect and power, an idealized form of wisdom and strength. Athena is often depicted with armor, a helmet, a shield, and a spear. Her shield, called the Aegis, is said to bear the head of the Gorgon Medusa, symbolizing both protection and power. Athena also carries the olive tree as her symbol, which represents peace, prosperity, and civilization, directly linking her to the city of Athens, which was named after her and was dedicated to her worship. Her virginity is a central aspect of her identity. Athena is often referred to as a Parthenos, meaning virgin, and she has no romantic relationships, unlike many of the other gods. This virginity underscores her independence and self-sufficiency. She does not rely on marriage or familial ties to maintain her power, and she represents the ideal of a woman who is strong, intelligent, and self-reliant. One of the most fascinating myths in Greek mythology is the story of Athena's birth. Athena did not have a traditional birth, but was instead Asterisk, born fully grown and armed from the head of Zeus. According to the myth, Zeus had swallowed Metis, the goddess of wisdom and craft, after learning that the child she was carrying would be more powerful than him. Zeus feared that this child would eventually overthrow him, just as he had done to his own father, Cronus. However, Metis continued to live within Zeus, and when the time came for her child to be born, Zeus experienced an intense headache. Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths and metalworking, struck Zeus's head with an axe to relieve his pain, and from his skull sprang Athena, fully grown and dressed in armor. This dramatic birth marked Athena as a goddess who was both a product of wisdom and intellect, but also a warrior, a powerful force who combined reason and strength. The birth of Athena symbolizes the perfect union of intellectual prowess and martial ability. She was created from the mind of Zeus, the king of the gods, which gives her a direct connection to the divine intellect and wisdom that shaped the world. From this moment on, Athena would be a protector of both the intellectual and physical realms, serving as a guide and strategist in times of war, as well as promoting peace and harmony in times of stability. The protector of heroes. Athena's relationship with heroes is one of the most important aspects of her role in Greek mythology. Athena was a mentor and protector to many of the greatest heroes, guiding them through their quests and helping them succeed in their trials. One of the most famous examples of Athena's involvement with a hero is her relationship with Odysseus, the hero of Homer's epic Odyssey. Athena provided Odysseus with wisdom and guidance during his 10-year journey home from the Trojan War, offering advice on how to outwit his enemies and overcome the numerous challenges he faced. She helped him navigate the dangers of the gods and monsters, ensuring his eventual return to Ithaca. Another example is Perseus, whom Athena helped during his quest to slay Medusa, the gorgon with snakes for hair whose gaze could turn people to stone. Athena gave Perseus the shield to reflect Medusa's gaze, helping him to defeat the monster and achieve his heroic feats. Through these stories, Athena exemplifies her role as a strategic guide and protector of heroes, using her wisdom to ensure their success and survival. The goddess of Athens. Perhaps the most famous of Athena's roles is as the patron goddess of Athens, one of the most important city-states in ancient Greece. According to the myth, Zeus and Poseidon both vied for the honor of becoming the patron deity of Athens. Poseidon created a saltwater spring, symbolizing power and strength, while Athena offered the olive tree, a symbol of peace, prosperity, and longevity. The people of Athens chose Athena as their patron deity because they valued wisdom and practical gifts over raw power. Athena gave them the olive tree, which not only provided food and oil but also became a symbol of the city's prosperity and cultural flourishing. Athena's victory in this contest symbolized the triumph of wisdom and strategy over brute force, and it reinforced her connection to peace, civilization, and rational governance. As the protector of Athens, Athena was deeply revered by the Athenians, and she was worshipped in many temples, including the famous Parthenon, which was built in her honor. Athena was not only seen as a goddess of war, but also as a patron of the arts, philosophy, and civilization. Her influence extended far beyond warfare. She represented the intellectual and cultural achievements of Athens, making her one of the most celebrated deities in the Greek world. Athena was one of the most important and widely worshipped deities in ancient Greece. She embodied the balance between intellect and strength, representing the idea that true power comes from wisdom, strategy, and insight. Unlike many other gods who were focused on physical might, Athena showed that knowledge, planning, and careful action could lead to victory, both in battle and in life. Her legacy continues to inspire those who value wisdom, intellect, and strategy, making her an enduring symbol of reason and civilization. Athena is not just a warrior goddess, but a goddess of culture, the protector of cities, and a patron of all those who seek knowledge and understanding. Her connection to Athens, the city that bears her name, has left a lasting mark on Western civilization. The values associated with Athena, wisdom, justice, peace, and the arts, are still honored today, and her image can be found in art, literature, and philosophy throughout history. Athena stands as a powerful symbol of intellectual strength and strategic thought. She is a goddess who not only embodies the wisdom needed for victory and war, but also the reason and rationality necessary for peace and civilization. From her dramatic birth from Zeus's head to her guidance of legendary heroes, Athena's influence spans across both the intellectual and martial domains. Her legacy as the protector of Athens and her symbolic representation of wisdom, art, and justice continue to resonate through history, making her one of the most revered deities in Greek mythology. Having explored the wisdom and strategy of Athena, we now turn our attention to a different kind of divine power, Apollo, the god of light, music, prophecy, and healing. While Athena represents intellect and strategic warfare, Apollo is the embodiment of harmony, arts, and healing. The son of Zeus and the Titaness Leto, Apollo is one of the most revered gods of the Greek pantheon. Let's dive into his story and discover the many facets of this powerful and multifaceted deity. Apollo is one of the most important and widely worshipped gods in Greek mythology. He is the god of light, music, prophecy, healing, and archery, among other domains. Known for his radiant beauty, Apollo is often depicted as a youthful and handsome god, symbolizing the ideal of youthful masculinity. His connection to light not only refers to the sun, but also to knowledge, truth, and reason, making him an embodiment of enlightenment. As the god of light, Apollo was often associated with the sun, although technically it was his twin sister Artemis who was more directly linked to the moon and the night sky. Apollo, however, was often depicted as driving the chariot of the sun across the sky each day, bringing light to the earth. His control over light made him a symbol of purity, clarity, and intellect. In addition to his role as the god of light, Apollo was also the god of music and the arts. He is often shown playing the lyre, an instrument that represents his domain of harmony, creativity, and the divine power of music. Music was seen as a divine force, and Apollo's music was thought to bring peace and order to the world. He was also the leader of the Muses, the 9 goddesses of the arts and sciences, who inspired artists, musicians, poets, and philosophers. One of the most famous stories about Apollo is his defeat of the great serpent Python. According to the myth, Python was a monstrous serpent who guarded the ancient oracle of Delphi, a sacred site that was believed to be the center of the world. Python was a child of Gaia, the earth, and was said to be a creature of immense power and terror, ruling over the land around Delphi. When Apollo came of age, he sought to establish his dominance over the land and gain control of Delphi. He confronted Python and, in a fierce battle, defeated the serpent with his bow and arrows. By slaying Python, Apollo claimed Delphi as his sacred site, and it became the location of the Delphic oracle, one of the most famous and revered oracles in the ancient world. Apollo's victory over Python symbolized his control over prophecy and the divine knowledge that the oracle would later provide. From that point forward, Apollo was worshipped as the god of prophecy, and his oracle at Delphi became a center of spiritual and political power. Kings, generals, and commoners alike sought the wisdom of the oracle, asking Apollo for guidance on important matters, such as war, politics, and personal affairs. In addition to his association with light and music, Apollo was also the god of healing and medicine. He had the ability to cure diseases and alleviate suffering, which made him a beloved deity among those in need of health and protection. Apollo's association with medicine was often linked to his son Asclepius, who was the god of healing and the patron deity of doctors. Apollo taught Asclepius the art of healing, and the two were closely connected in their role as protectors of human health. Apollo was believed to have the power to both bring diseases upon people and cure them, depending on his will. His ability to heal was also connected to his role as the bringer of light. He could bring clarity and understanding to medical ailments, just as he illuminated the truth through his prophecies. Apollo's healing abilities were highly revered by the Greeks, and many temples and sanctuaries dedicated to him also had healing centers, where people would come to seek cures for their ailments. The most famous of these was the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, which was believed to have sacred waters and healing powers. Although Apollo was often seen as the perfect embodiment of reason, intellect, and artistic beauty, his love life was far from ideal. Like many other gods, Apollo had a number of romantic entanglements, many of which ended tragically. His relationships with both mortals and immortals often demonstrated the tension between divine power and human vulnerability. One of the most famous love stories involving Apollo is his pursuit of Daphne, a nymph who was turned into a laurel tree to escape his advances. Apollo had fallen deeply in love with Daphne, but she, unwilling to become his lover, fled from him. As she ran, she was transformed by her father, Peneus, into a laurel tree to escape Apollo's pursuit. Stricken with grief and regret, Apollo then made the laurel his sacred tree, symbolizing his eternal love for Daphne, and it became the symbol of victory in ancient Greece. Another notable love affair was with the mortal woman Coronis, whom Apollo loved deeply. However, she betrayed him, and in his anger, Apollo caused her death. He later regretted her death and rescued their unborn child, Asclepius, who would go on to become the god of healing. These stories reveal a more tragic side of Apollo, where love and beauty are intertwined with pain and loss. His unrequited loves and tragic romances are a common theme in his myths, showing that even the gods are not immune to the complexities of human emotion. Apollo is one of the most prominent and beloved gods of the Greek pantheon. His role as the god of light, music, prophecy, and healing made him an essential figure in the lives of both mortals and gods. He was seen as the ideal of beauty, intellect, and artistic expression, and his influence stretched far beyond the world of Greek mythology. The Delphic oracle, under Apollo's domain, became the most powerful source of divine wisdom in the ancient world. His role as a god of healing also made him a protector of humanity, offering both physical and spiritual guidance to those in need. His tragic love stories, meanwhile, add depth to his character, showing that even gods experience love and loss in profound ways. Apollo's legacy continues to influence modern culture, from his association with the sun to his role as a symbol of artistic and intellectual achievement. His myths, particularly those about music, prophecy, and healing, remain vital elements of Greek mythology and continue to inspire artists, musicians, and thinkers to this day. Apollo stands as one of the most multifaceted and influential gods in Greek mythology. His dominion over light, music, prophecy, and healing made him a powerful force in both the mortal and divine worlds. Whether guiding heroes through their journeys, offering wisdom through the Delphic oracle, or healing the sick, Apollo's legacy continues to resonate across time as a symbol of intellect, beauty, and the power of the arts. His tragic love stories remind us of the complexities of divinity and the human condition, adding depth and humanity to his otherwise perfect image. After exploring the brilliance of Apollo, the god of light, music, and prophecy, we now turn to his twin sister, Artemis, a goddess whose domain lies in the wild, the untamed, and the fiercely independent. While Apollo represents intellect and artistry, Artemis embodies freedom, nature, and the strength of independence. As the goddess of the hunt and the protector of animals, Artemis's influence is felt in the wilds of nature, as well as in her role as a protector of women. Let's explore her story and her vital role in Greek mythology. Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo, is one of the most important and revered goddesses in Greek mythology. She is the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, wild animals, and chastity. Artemis is often depicted as a youthful, independent, and strong figure associated with the untamed forests, mountains, and wildlife. As a goddess of the wild, she represents the raw, primal forces of nature, and her connection to the hunt highlights her strength, skill, and autonomy. Artemis is frequently shown with a bow and arrows, accompanied by her loyal hunting dogs or other wild animals, such as deer. Her presence in the forests and mountains symbolizes the natural world's beauty and danger, where freedom and survival are in constant balance. Artemis is not only a huntress, but also a goddess who embodies the idea of self-sufficiency and independence. She is one of the virgin goddesses of the Olympian pantheon, dedicated to chastity and sworn to remain untouched by the romantic entanglements that define the lives of many other gods and goddesses. Her role in protecting the wild and its creatures is paramount. Artemis is a fierce protector of wildlife, ensuring that the balance of nature is maintained. She is often seen as the guardian of animals, and she is especially associated with deer, bears, and other woodland creatures. In this respect, Artemis is a symbol of the preservation of the natural world and its creatures. Unlike many other gods and goddesses who are entangled in love stories and relationships, Artemis remains steadfastly chaste and independent. As one of the virgin goddesses, she took an oath to remain untouched by men, and she fiercely protected her independence and autonomy. Her vow of chastity not only symbolized her freedom, but also her commitment to helping others retain their purity, particularly young girls and women. Artemis's role as a protector of women is deeply embedded in her mythology. She is often associated with young girls and women in transition, particularly during their rites of passage from childhood to adulthood. She is seen as a goddess who can offer protection, both physical and emotional, to women during significant life events, such as childbirth or coming-of-age ceremonies. Many women prayed to Artemis for a safe and healthy childbirth, as she was also associated with fertility in some myths. Despite her vow of chastity, the goddess's protective nature extends beyond just women. She is also seen as a guardian of freedom and independence. Artemis symbolizes the idea that women can be strong, independent, and free to pursue their own paths without being bound by the constraints of marriage or the traditional roles often imposed on women in ancient society. One of the most famous myths about Artemis involves her encounter with the hunter Actaeon. Actaeon was a skilled hunter who, while out hunting in the forest, accidentally stumbled upon Artemis while she was bathing in a secluded pool. Offended by his intrusion and his gaze, Artemis immediately turned Actaeon into a stag. Once transformed, Actaeon was hunted and torn apart by his own dogs, unable to recognize him as their master. This myth highlights Artemis's fierce independence and her uncompromising nature. While she is a protector of women and animals, she is also a goddess who demands respect and boundaries, and she does not hesitate to enforce her will. Her wrath against Actaeon serves as a reminder of the consequences of disrespecting her privacy and autonomy. The myth also underscores the power of the natural world that Artemis governs, showing that it can be both beautiful and deadly. Artemis, as the embodiment of nature's freedom, can protect those who respect her domain, but punish those who encroach upon it. In addition to her role as a goddess of the hunt, Artemis is also closely connected to the protection of young children and women. She is considered the goddess who watches over the young and innocent, especially during the dangerous periods of childhood and adolescence. In some myths, Artemis is even said to be the one who helped deliver her twin brother Apollo at birth, symbolizing her role as a protector of life and a guardian during transitions. Artemis is frequently invoked by women in labor, as she was believed to help protect them during childbirth. Her role as a protector of children also extended to young girls, especially those who were reaching the age of maturity. She provided them with protection and guidance, symbolizing both strength and purity during this important stage in their lives. Despite her association with fertility and childbirth, Artemis's chastity was of great importance, and her stories often reflect the idea that she can help others with their fertility and childbearing while remaining untouched by romantic relationships herself. Her independence and fierce protection of women and the natural world made her a unique figure in the pantheon of Greek deities. Artemis stands as one of the most complex and powerful goddesses in Greek mythology. As the goddess of the hunt, she is the embodiment of freedom, strength, and independence. Her role as protector of animals, young women, and nature emphasizes her deep connection to the primal forces of the earth and her unwavering commitment to guarding the untamed realms. Artemis's fierce protection of her chastity and her autonomy, as well as her advocacy for the well-being of women and children, made her a unique and revered deity in the Greek pantheon. She is a symbol of the strength and independence that women can possess, standing apart from the more traditional roles that other female deities might represent. Her legacy as the goddess of the wild, the hunt, and female independence continues to resonate in modern times, reminding us of the importance of freedom, self-sufficiency, and the protection of the natural world. Artemis is a powerful, independent, and revered goddess who stands as a protector of both nature and women. She embodies the raw power of the wild and the necessity of autonomy, especially for women in ancient society. Whether hunting in the forests, guarding women and children, or protecting the sanctity of nature, Artemis represents the unyielding strength and independence that are necessary for survival in both the natural world and human life. Her legacy as the protector of women, children, and the wilderness continues to inspire and empower to this day. Having explored the fierce independence and protection of the wild by Artemis, we now turn our focus to a different, more aggressive force in Greek mythology, Ares, the god of war and violence. Unlike Artemis, who embodies the natural balance between strength and purity, Ares is associated with the brutal and chaotic aspects of conflict. While Artemis stands as a protector, Ares represents the destructive and chaotic side of battle. Let's now dive into the realm of Ares, where war, aggression, and bloodshed reign. Ares, the son of Zeus and Hera, is one of the most feared and controversial figures in Greek mythology. As the god of war, Ares embodies the violent and chaotic aspects of battle. Unlike Athena, who represents strategic warfare and intellectual victory, Ares represents the raw, physical brutality of war, the clash of weapons, the spilling of blood, and the destruction that comes with conflict. Ares is often depicted as a fierce warrior, armed with a spear and shield, and sometimes riding a chariot drawn by horses. He is a figure who thrives in the midst of war, seeking violence and chaos. While Athena embodies the virtues of wisdom and strategy in battle, Ares is associated with the primal and destructive elements of war. He relishes the violence, the suffering, and the turmoil that war brings. Unlike Athena, who is respected and revered for her intellect and role in war, Ares is not widely admired. In fact, he was often depicted in a less favorable light in Greek mythology. His impulsive nature and love for conflict made him a figure of fear and disdain, both among the gods and mortals alike. His bloodlust and lack of concern for the consequences of war often set him apart from the other gods, who had more noble or protective roles. One of the most significant battles in which Ares is featured is the Trojan War, a conflict that forms the backdrop of many famous Greek myths. Ares played an active role in the war, but his involvement was not as heroic as that of Achilles or Hector. Instead, Ares fought for the side of the Trojans, often adding to the bloodshed and chaos without clear strategy or reason. In the Iliad, Ares is depicted as a god who thrives in the midst of bloodshed. Unlike Athena, who strategically guides the Greek heroes, Ares is driven by the thrill of violence and does not concern himself with the broader goals of the war. He revels in the carnage and destruction, representing the uncontrollable and savage side of warfare. Though Ares was a powerful force in the Trojan War, his actions were not always well regarded. Hera, his mother, and Zeus, his father, both had a complicated relationship with him. While they did not outright condemn him, they often saw him as a necessary evil, someone who embodied the brutal reality of war, but was also needed in the battlefields to give the gods an edge in combat. Unlike many other Olympian gods, Ares was not widely loved or respected in Greek mythology. While gods like Zeus, Apollo, and Athena had widespread admiration, Ares was often seen as a divisive and troubling figure. He was the god of chaos, bloodshed, and conflict, and while his strength was undeniable, he was often viewed as a source of destruction rather than a hero. In some myths, Ares's character is shown to be impulsive, quick to anger, and lacking in the thoughtful, strategic thinking that characterized other gods. His association with the Trojans during the Trojan War was controversial, and even among the gods, he did not receive the same respect as other warrior gods like Athena. One notable example of this disdain is the myth in which Ares is captured by Athena and Hephaestus. In this myth, Ares is caught in a trap with Aphrodite, and the two are publicly humiliated. This story highlights the contrast between Ares and Athena. While Ares is consumed by rage and violence, Athena is wise, disciplined, and strategic in her approach to war. This difference in character further solidifies Ares's reputation as a less admirable figure. One of the most famous and enduring aspects of Ares's mythology is his relationship with Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. Despite Ares's role as the god of war and violence, his relationship with Aphrodite brings a contrasting softness to his character. Aphrodite, representing love and beauty, was often in conflict with Ares's chaotic nature, yet they formed a passionate, albeit controversial, partnership. Their affair is often depicted as being secretive, as Hephaestus, Aphrodite's husband, was unaware of it for a time. However, Hephaestus eventually discovered the affair and trapped the lovers in a net, exposing them to the ridicule of the gods. This myth highlights the contrast between Ares and the other gods. While his relationship with Aphrodite is rooted in love and desire, it still takes place under the shadow of war and violence, reinforcing the complexity of Ares's character. Ares is a god who represents the dual nature of war, both the heroism of combat and the horrors it brings. While he is undeniably powerful and associated with military prowess, his impulsive nature and love for violence made him a god who was not easily loved or respected. In Greek mythology, Ares serves as a reminder of the brutal, destructive side of war, the chaos that comes with conflict, and the costs it imposes on both gods and mortals. Despite his lack of admiration, Ares was an essential figure in the Greek pantheon, and his presence in myth was integral to understanding the complexities of war. While other gods may represent strategy, justice, or protection, Aries embodies the primal and uncontrollable forces that emerge when conflict arises. In modern culture, Aries is often seen as the archetype of the warrior god, symbolizing the destructive power of war and the human cost that comes with violence and conflict. Though he was not revered in ancient Greece to the extent of other gods, his mythological influence endures as a powerful symbol of war and its consequences. Ares stands as one of the most complex and controversial gods in Greek mythology. As the god of war and violence, he represents the chaotic and destructive nature of conflict, while Athena embodies the virtues of wisdom and strategy in battle. Ares is the raw force of aggression and bloodshed. His relationship with Aphrodite and his role in the Trojan War highlight both the beauty and the brutality of war, making him a god who is as feared as he is misunderstood. Ares remains a symbol of the destructive power of war and the complex nature of combat in human history. After delving into the destructive and chaotic forces embodied by Ares, the god of war and violence, we now turn to a vastly different force, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty, and desire. While Ares represents the dark side of human nature, Aphrodite is the divine embodiment of attraction and affection, bringing love, but also conflict and jealousy. Let's explore her story and understand how this powerful goddess influenced both gods and mortals alike. Aphrodite is one of the most famous and revered deities in Greek mythology, widely regarded as the goddess of love, beauty, sexuality, and desire. Her allure is both irresistible and dangerous, as she possesses the power to cause passion, infatuation, and romantic attraction in both gods and mortals alike. Often depicted as a beautiful and enchanting woman, Aphrodite embodies the ideal of feminine beauty, and her presence in mythology influences many of the most significant love stories. Aphrodite is famously said to have been born from the sea foam, a symbolic and magical birth that highlights her deep connection to the natural world, specifically the primal and fertile powers of the sea. According to myth, after the Titan Uranus was overthrown by his son Cronus, Uranus's severed genitals were cast into the sea. From the foam that gathered around them, Aphrodite was born. Her birth from the sea symbolizes her emergence from the wild and unpredictable forces of nature, embodying both creation and destruction, the power to create life through love, but also the havoc that desire can wreak. As the goddess of beauty, Aphrodite was also the patron of romantic relationships, and her influence spread across both divine and mortal realms. She could inspire love between men and women, but she could also cause jealousy, rivalry, and even tragic outcomes. Many myths surrounding Aphrodite focus on her power to create intense emotional bonds, and her love affairs often lead to dramatic and sometimes disastrous consequences. One of the most enduring aspects of Aphrodite's mythology is her many love affairs. While she was married to Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship and fire, she had numerous affairs with other gods and mortals, the most famous being her relationship with Ares, the god of war. The affair between Aphrodite and Ares is often depicted as one of passion and conflict. Despite Hephaestus's knowledge of the affair, Aphrodite and Ares were caught by Hephaestus in a net, humiliated in front of the other gods. However, the affair still continued to be a significant part of her mythology, representing the connection between love and war, two seemingly opposing forces that she could manipulate at will. Another key story about Aphrodite involves her involvement with Paris, the Trojan prince, which played a crucial role in the Trojan War. In the myth, Paris was asked to judge a beauty contest between the three goddesses Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Aphrodite promised Paris the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, Helen of Sparta, if he chose her as the winner. This act of divine manipulation ultimately led to the Trojan War, as Helen's abduction by Paris caused a conflict between the Greeks and Trojans. These relationships demonstrate Aphrodite's dual nature. She represents the power of love, but also the chaos and conflict that can arise from desire. While she can bring beauty and harmony, she can also lead to jealousy, betrayal, and war. Beyond her romantic entanglements, Aphrodite is also deeply connected to the concepts of fertility and procreation. In many myths, Aphrodite is seen as the goddess who inspires love not only between gods and mortals, but also between creatures, promoting the creation of life itself. She plays a vital role in the natural cycles of growth and reproduction, representing the power of creation through love. As the goddess of fertility, Aphrodite was invoked by women seeking to conceive or protect their children. Her connection to fertility extends beyond human reproduction, as she is also associated with the growth of plants and the renewal of life in nature. Many of the festivals dedicated to Aphrodite also had strong connections to fertility rites, where people would celebrate and honor the goddess to ensure bountiful harvests and the prosperity of their communities. Her domain over love and beauty is not only about romantic relationships, but also about the creation and perpetuation of life itself. Aphrodite's power was deeply rooted in the cycles of nature, with her ability to foster love and creation reflected in the blooming of flowers, the growth of crops, and the birth of children. While Aphrodite is often associated with the gods and their relationships, her influence also extends to the lives of mortals. She has a powerful effect on human emotions, especially in love, desire, and attraction. Many stories in Greek mythology involve mortal men and women who fall under the sway of Aphrodite's beauty and charm, often leading to affairs, conflicts, and even tragic outcomes. In one famous myth, Aphrodite intervenes in the life of Pygmalion, a sculptor who fell in love with a statue he created. Pygmalion prayed to Aphrodite to bring the statue to life, and the goddess, moved by his devotion, granted his wish. This myth highlights Aphrodite's power to shape the emotional lives of mortals, as well as the romantic and transformative power of love. In another story, Aphrodite plays a key role in the story of Adonis, a young man of great beauty who captured her heart. However, Adonis's death in a hunting accident caused Aphrodite immense grief. In her sorrow, she transformed his blood into the anemone flower, a symbol of the transience of love and beauty. This story speaks to Aphrodite's role in the cycle of life and death, as well as the bittersweet nature of love and attraction. Aphrodite stands as one of the most enduring and influential figures in Greek mythology. As the goddess of love, beauty, fertility, and desire, she embodies the power of attraction and the ability to create both harmony and chaos. While she was a goddess who inspired passion and love, her influence also brought forth jealousy, conflict, and betrayal. Her relationships with Ares, Paris, and Pygmalion, among others, reflect the complexities of love and desire, which are central themes in Greek mythology. Aphrodite's influence extended beyond romantic love. She symbolized the power of creation, transformation, and the beauty that permeates both the natural world and human life. As the embodiment of beauty and love, Aphrodite's legacy continues to resonate in modern times, reminding us of the complex and multifaceted nature of affection, attraction, and human connection. Her story is a timeless reminder that love, while beautiful, is also a powerful force that can bring both joy and conflict. Aphrodite is a goddess whose influence shapes the most profound aspects of human nature. As the goddess of love, beauty, and desire, She has the power to inspire passion and affection, but also to stir conflict and rivalry. Her complex relationships with gods and mortals alike underscore the dual nature of love, its capacity to create and destroy. Whether through her romantic entanglements or her role in fertility, Aphrodite embodies the paradox of love as both a source of creation and a force of chaos. Her lasting legacy, as a symbol of beauty and love, continues to captivate and inspire, making her one of the most powerful figures in Greek mythology. After exploring the captivating beauty and power of Aphrodite, the goddess of love and desire, we now turn to Hermes, a god who embodies a very different set of qualities. While Aphrodite influences love, beauty, and fertility, Hermes is the god of commerce, transportation, and communication. Known for his cleverness and speed, Hermes serves as a messenger for the gods and plays a key role in many myths, helping both mortals and immortals alike. Let's dive into the world of Hermes, the winged god who moves freely between worlds. Hermes, the son of Zeus and the nymph Maia, is one of the most versatile and dynamic gods in Greek mythology. Known as the messenger god, Hermes served as the divine intermediary, carrying messages between the gods and between gods and mortals. He is also the god of commerce, trade, travel, and communication, making him an essential figure in both the divine and mortal worlds. Hermes is often depicted as a youthful, winged figure, wearing a petasos, a winged hat, and carrying a caduceus, a staff with two intertwined serpents. His winged sandals, which allow him to travel swiftly across the realms, symbolize his role as a fast and efficient messenger, able to cross boundaries between the mortal world and the realm of the gods with ease. Hermes' speed and resourcefulness made him indispensable to the gods, as he could carry out tasks with unparalleled agility. Beyond his role as a messenger, Hermes was also the patron of merchants and travelers. He facilitated trade and commerce, ensuring that goods and messages moved efficiently between people and places. His connection to travel made him a protector of those on long journeys, ensuring safe passage and guiding people across distances, both in the physical and spiritual realms. One of Hermes' most important roles in Greek mythology was as the guide and helper of heroes. He was often called upon by the gods to assist mortals on their quests, using his wit and speed to help them overcome obstacles. One of the most famous examples of Hermes helping a hero is his involvement in the myth of Perseus. When Perseus was tasked with slaying the Gorgon Medusa, he received aid from Hermes in the form of a winged sword and advice on how to defeat Medusa. Hermes' guidance and assistance were crucial to Perseus' success, as he was able to use his gifts of speed and cleverness to outsmart the deadly monster. Another famous myth in which Hermes plays a pivotal role is the story of Odysseus and his encounter with the sorceress Circe. Hermes gave Odysseus a magical herb, moly, to protect him from Circe's spell, ensuring that he would not be turned into a swine. Through this act of guidance, Hermes demonstrated his role as a helper to the heroes of Greek mythology, offering both practical assistance and wisdom when it was most needed. Hermes' role as the helper of heroes also extended to his involvement in the Argonauts' quest. As a protector of travelers and those embarking on dangerous journeys, Hermes ensured that the heroes had the support and tools they needed to succeed in their perilous adventures. In addition to being the god of communication, commerce, and travel, Hermes also had a mischievous side. He was the god of thieves, known for his quick wit, cunning, and trickery. Hermes was the patron of thieves, and his cleverness often led him to outwit gods and mortals alike. One of the most famous tales of Hermes' trickster nature is the story of his birth. As a newborn, Hermes escaped from his cradle and immediately set out to create mischief. He stole his brother Apollo's herd of cattle, cleverly disguising their tracks by making them walk backward. Apollo, furious over the theft, confronted Hermes, but the young god used his wit to charm Apollo and even offered to give him the lyre, which he had invented. This charming and clever negotiation led to Hermes' eventual reconciliation with Apollo and the establishment of a close relationship between the two. Hermes' role as the god of thieves symbolizes his ability to transcend boundaries and break rules, using his intelligence to achieve his goals. His association with trickery and wit often made him a god who could manipulate situations to his advantage, whether by stealing from others or outsmarting rivals. In addition to his duties as a messenger and god of commerce, Hermes also had an important role in the realm of the dead. As the psychopomp, Hermes guided the souls of the deceased to the underworld. This made him the god responsible for leading souls from the mortal realm to their final resting place. Hermes' role in the underworld underscores his ability to move freely between different realms. He was the only god who could travel between the worlds of the living and the dead. In this capacity, he not only guided the dead but also ensured that they crossed safely into the afterlife, where they would be judged and assigned their fate. Hermes' influence in Greek mythology is vast and multifaceted. As the messenger of the gods, he played a key role in maintaining communication between the heavens and the earth. His association with commerce and travel made him an essential figure for both the gods and mortals, as he facilitated the flow of goods, messages, and information. Hermes also embodied the power of cleverness, trickery, and ingenuity, offering a different kind of strength from the more physical gods. Through his involvement with heroes like Perseus and Odysseus, Hermes became a symbol of wisdom and quick thinking. His cunning and resourcefulness often turned the tide in difficult situations, showing that intelligence and cleverness could be as powerful as brute strength. Hermes' trickster nature added depth to his character, making him a god who is both admired and feared for his wit. In modern culture, Hermes remains a symbol of communication, speed, and commerce, and his legacy continues to influence how we think about movement and exchange, whether in the form of messages, trade, or the journey between life and death. Hermes stands as one of the most versatile and dynamic gods in Greek mythology. As the messenger of the gods, he ensures the smooth exchange of information, goods, and messages across the realms. His role as the god of commerce and trade connects him to the material world, while his association with trickery and wit adds an element of cunning and mischief to his character. Whether guiding souls to the underworld, assisting heroes in their quests, or helping merchants and travelers, Hermes represents the vital flow of communication and movement that underpins both divine and mortal existence. After exploring the cleverness and versatility of Hermes, the messenger god and patron of commerce, we now turn to a quieter yet equally significant force in Greek mythology, Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, home, and family. While Hermes traversed between realms and influenced many aspects of daily life, Hestia remained at the heart of every home, keeping the flame of family and community burning. Let's now explore Hestia, the goddess who ensured the warmth and stability of both the household and society. Hestia, one of the original Olympian gods, is the goddess of the hearth, home, and family. As the eldest daughter of Cronus and Rhea, she holds a unique and essential role among the gods. Hestia is often depicted as a serene, dignified goddess who embodies the warmth and stability of the home both literally, through the hearth, and symbolically, through the bonds of family life. In ancient Greek culture, the hearth was the center of family life. It was the place where the family gathered to cook, eat, and socialize. And the fire from the hearth symbolized both physical warmth and the emotional warmth of family bonds. Hestia was the protector of this sacred fire, ensuring the continuity of family life, the well-being of the home, and the stability of the social structure. Hestia's role was more practical and foundational than that of many other gods. While gods like Zeus, Ares, and Apollo were associated with grand actions and dramatic events, Hestia was quietly vital, ensuring that the basic foundation of human life, family, and home was strong and stable. Her influence was both domestic and divine, reaching into the hearts of every Greek family and every community, providing warmth, security, and peace. Hestia was not only the goddess of the hearth within the home, but also the protector of the sacred flame in temples and altars. Her role as the keeper of fire extended beyond domestic life to the divine, where the sacred flame represented purity and stability. In every temple dedicated to the gods, a fire was maintained at the altar, and it was Hestia who was said to oversee this divine flame. This fire was essential for the rituals and offerings to the gods, and it was kept burning at all times as a symbol of the continued favor of the gods. As the goddess who maintained the fire, Hestia also embodied the concept of home on a larger scale. The hearth was where gods and mortals alike could come together to offer respect, warmth, and sustenance. Hestia's flame represented both life and continuity. It was a vital element for community and worship. Interestingly, Hestia was also the first deity to receive offerings in any ceremony, as her presence was deemed necessary for the success of the ritual. Her position as the first recipient of offerings reflected her importance in ensuring the welfare of the home, both within human households and among the gods. Although Hestia is often seen as a relatively quiet and passive goddess in comparison to the more active gods of Greek mythology, her role in the stability of Greek society cannot be overstated. Hestia was the embodiment of domestic tranquility, and her power was tied directly to the harmony and stability of the family unit, which was the foundation of Greek social structure. The family was the most basic and important social unit in ancient Greece, and Hestia ensured that this unit remained intact. Her role was to maintain peace and unity within the family, overseeing the care of children, the relationship between husband and wife, and the general order of domestic life. In a broader sense, Hestia also helped maintain the peace of the community, as the stability of individual homes contributed to the overall harmony of the polis, city-state. In addition, Hestia was associated with the rituals and practices that tied communities together. For example, the Hestia-sponsored fire was central to all public feasts and celebrations, such as the sacrifices made at public festivals and the communal meals shared by families. This connection between home and community reinforced her significance in both personal and public life. Unlike many of the other Olympian gods and goddesses who had complex relationships, romantic entanglements, or numerous offspring, Hestia was known for her virginity. She took an oath to remain unmarried and free from romantic entanglements, dedicating herself fully to her role as the goddess of the hearth and home. Her virginity is symbolic of her focus on the sanctity of the home rather than personal relationships or the pursuit of power through marriage. This choice to remain untouched by romantic affairs allowed Hestia to maintain a neutral position in the conflicts and power struggles between the gods. Her neutrality made her a stabilizing force on Mount Olympus, as she was one of the few deities who did not participate in the quarrels or rivalries of the gods. In this way, Hestia serves as a figure of peace and continuity, offering a sense of stability in a world full of divine drama. Her absence from the intrigues of the gods also highlights her commitment to the quiet, steady work of ensuring the well-being of the home and the family tasks that, though not glamorous, were critical for the survival of both mortal and divine realms. Although Hestia is often overshadowed by other gods in Greek mythology, her role as the goddess of the hearth and family makes her one of the most significant figures in the Greek pantheon. She is the embodiment of the values that sustain society, stability, unity, and warmth. In a world where gods and mortals are often engaged in epic battles, feasts, and quests, Hestia's quiet power represents the foundation upon which everything else is built. Her legacy continues to resonate in modern times, as she remains a symbol of family, home, and social cohesion. The hearth, both in the home and in communal spaces, remains a symbol of warmth and comfort, representing the stability that Hestia worked tirelessly to uphold. Hestia is a goddess whose importance may be understated in comparison to the more dramatic deities of Greek mythology. But her role is fundamental to the fabric of both divine and mortal life. As the goddess of the hearth, family, and domestic life, she ensures the warmth and stability that hold society together. Hestia's role as a virgin goddess and her neutral, peaceful nature make her an enduring symbol of harmony, unity, and quiet strength. Her influence on both individual households and entire communities reflects the timeless importance of family and the peaceful, steady forces that guide human life. Having explored the quiet strength and stability of Hestia, the goddess of home and hearth, we now turn to a deity whose power is rooted in craftsmanship, creation, and fire. Hephaestus, the god of the forge. Unlike many other gods who wield power through battle or intellect, Hephaestus is the divine embodiment of skill, creativity, and the transformative power of fire. As the blacksmith of the gods, he forged weapons, armor, and wondrous creations for both the gods and heroes alike. Let's now explore the story of Hephaestus, the master craftsman and god of fire. Hephaestus, the son of Zeus and Hera, is the god of fire, craftsmanship, blacksmithing, and metalworking. He is often depicted as a strong, muscular figure with a hammer and anvil, symbols of his role as the god who shapes the world through his skills with metal and fire. Hephaestus is one of the few gods in Greek mythology whose power is tied to practical, everyday work. He is the creator of weapons, armor, and tools, both for the gods and for heroes. His creations are central to the myths of many famous heroes, including Achilles, Perseus, and Heracles, who rely on his craftsmanship for their success. Unlike many of the other gods, Hephaestus was not associated with battle or war in the traditional sense. Rather, he represented the power of creation through hard work, skill, and the mastery of fire and metal. As the blacksmith of the gods, Hephaestus forged items of immense power, including Zeus's thunderbolts, Ares's armor, and Hermes's winged sandals. He also crafted the magnificent shield of Achilles, which was described in Homer's Iliad as being covered in intricate and beautiful designs. Despite his divine abilities, Hephaestus was often depicted as a misunderstood and marginalized figure. His talent and genius were undeniable, but his appearance and circumstances made him an outsider among the Olympian gods. Nonetheless, his work and creations were crucial to the god's success and power, cementing his place as one of the most important deities in the Greek pantheon. One of the most tragic aspects of Hephaestus' story is his strained relationship with his parents, Zeus and Hera. According to one version of his birth, Hephaestus was born lame, and when Hera saw that he was physically imperfect, she rejected him, casting him from Mount Olympus. In some myths, Hera was so disgusted by his deformity that she threw him off the heavens, and he fell to the earth, where he was raised by nymphs in secret. This abandonment by Hera, and the resulting estrangement from both of his parents, was a source of deep emotional pain for Hephaestus. Despite this, he did not let his physical deformity or his rejection deter him. In fact, Hephaestus turned his pain into determination, using his brilliance and skills to master the art of smithing. His story is one of resilience. He took his greatest challenge, his physical limitations, and transformed them into strengths, becoming the most skilled craftsman in all of the world, divine or mortal. Hephaestus's relationship with his parents was never completely healed. In some versions of the myth, Zeus later intervened to reconcile Hephaestus with Hera, but this act of reconciliation did not erase the scars left by his rejection. His story represents the theme of overcoming adversity and finding a place for oneself in a world that often rejects those who do not fit the ideal. Although Hephaestus was not a warrior in the traditional sense, his creations were integral to the successes of the greatest warriors and heroes in Greek mythology. He was the blacksmith to both gods and mortals, crafting weapons and tools that would define the outcomes of numerous myths and battles. The armor of Achilles. One of Hephaestus's most famous works was the armor he created for Achilles during the Trojan War. Achilles' armor was described as being impervious to mortal harm, made of exquisite and intricate designs, and it became one of the most iconic symbols of the hero's strength. Ares' armor. Hephaestus also crafted the armor of Ares, the god of war. His armor was designed to be not just functional, but also imposing, reflecting Ares's martial prowess. Perseus' weapons. Hephaestus helped Perseus by forging his shield, which allowed the hero to safely view Medusa without being turned to stone. He also provided Perseus with a sword that was essential in his slaying of the Gorgon. Hermes' winged sandals. Hephaestus crafted the winged sandals of Hermes, which allowed the messenger god to travel swiftly between realms. These sandals became a symbol of speed and agility. These are just a few examples of Hephaestus's work, but they demonstrate how critical his creations were to the success of both gods and mortals. Through his skill and craftsmanship, he played a central role in many of the key myths and battles that defined Greek mythology. Hephaestus stands apart from many of the other Olympian gods because of his connection to work, creation, and transformation. His ability to create both beautiful and functional objects, ranging from armor to tools, made him indispensable to the gods. He represents the power of creation and artistry, the ability to shape and mold materials into something powerful, beautiful, and enduring. His legacy is one of hard work and perseverance, despite the challenges he faced in his personal life. Unlike many other gods who were associated with grand quests or battles, Hephaestus represents the quiet but essential force of craftsmanship and industry. His creations were as important as any battle or war, for they provided the gods and heroes with the tools they needed to succeed. Today, Hephaestus remains a symbol of innovation and craftsmanship, reminding us of the importance of skill and resilience. His work underscores the belief that creation is as powerful as destruction, and that beauty and strength can be forged through determination and hard work. Hephaestus is the embodiment of creation and transformation. As the god of the forge, he forged not only powerful weapons and armor for the gods, but also became a symbol of resilience, turning adversity into mastery. Despite his rejection by his parents, Hephaestus proved that through skill, ingenuity, and determination, one could carve a path to greatness. His legacy as the god of craftsmanship and fire continues to inspire those who create and innovate, making him one of the most important, albeit sometimes overlooked, deities in Greek mythology. After exploring the craftsmanship and resilience of Hephaestus, the god of fire and the forge, we now turn to a god who represents an entirely different force, Dionysus, the god of wine, joy, and ecstasy. While Hephaestus crafted beautiful and powerful objects through his skill and labor, Dionysus brings liberation, celebration, and chaos. Known for his ability to inspire both divine intoxication and wild abandon, Dionysus plays a central role in Greek mythology as the god of festivity and the freeing of the soul. Let's now explore Dionysus, the bringer of joy and revelry, and the god who embodies the wild, untamed side of life. Dionysus, the son of Zeus and the mortal Semele, is one of the most unique and complex deities in Greek mythology. He is the god of wine, fertility, theater, ecstasy, and festivity, embodying the liberating and chaotic forces of life. Dionysus is not just the god of drunkenness, but also the god who brings people into a state of divine madness and ecstatic joy. He is associated with the unrestrained aspects of human nature, freedom from societal rules, the embrace of primal instincts, and the release of hidden emotions. Dionysus's followers, the Maenads, wild female followers, and the satyrs, half-human, half-goat creatures, are often depicted in frenzied dances, reveling in the intoxication of wine and the wild energy that comes with worshiping the god of freedom. The god himself is often shown as a youthful, joyous figure, crowned with ivy, holding a thyrsus, a staff entwined with ivy and topped with a pine cone, and surrounded by his companions, partaking in celebratory rituals. But Dionysus represents more than just the celebration of physical pleasure. He is also a symbol of the power of transformation, of the boundary between civilization and wildness, and the freedom to explore the depths of human emotion and spirit. His festivals, known as the Dionysia, were among the most important in ancient Greek society, where both tragedy and comedy were performed in honor of him, demonstrating the cathartic and liberating nature of his influence. The story of Dionysus's birth is as dramatic and wild as the god himself. According to myth, Dionysus was the son of Zeus and the mortal Semele, a princess of Thebes. Semele was tragically consumed by her desire to see Zeus in his full divine form, and when she asked him to reveal his true nature, his godly radiance burned her to death. However, before Semele died, Zeus managed to save their unborn child by sewing Dionysus into his own thigh, carrying him to full term. This unusual birth from Zeus's thigh is symbolic of the god's dual nature, both human and divine, both mortal and eternal. After his birth, Dionysus faced great challenges. As a god who was partially mortal, he had to prove himself and claim his place among the Olympian gods. His journey was filled with hardships, including being pursued by the jealous Hera, who sought to destroy him. However, Dionysus's ability to transform, his resilience, and his power over the natural world helped him establish his divine status. Over time, Dionysus became known for his ability to bring both joy and madness, freeing people from the constraints of order and introducing them to the intoxicating pleasures of life. One of Dionysus's most significant cultural contributions was his establishment of the Dionysian festivals, which celebrated his power over wine, freedom, and creativity. These festivals were held annually in many Greek cities, with the largest and most famous taking place in Athens. The Dionysia were not only festivals of wild revelry and drinking, but also celebrations of theater and drama. The Dionysian festivals featured tragic and comic performances, with playwrights such as Sophocles, Euripides, and Aeschylus presenting their famous plays in his honor. The theater was seen as a space where the gods and mortals could meet, and the Dionysian influence allowed people to explore themes of life, death, and rebirth through dramatic performance. The cathartic experience of the audience letting go of emotion through laughter and tears was said to be a direct gift from Dionysus, whose influence transcended the boundaries between the mortal and divine realms. These festivals embodied Dionysus's power to bring people together, to unify through the collective experience of drama, music, and ecstasy, and to create a space where both the individual and the community could transcend normal social constraints. One of the most fascinating aspects of Dionysus's worship was the Maenads, his frenzied female followers. These women, often depicted dancing wildly and holding ivy-covered thyrsi, were believed to be possessed by the spirit of Dionysus. In their ecstatic state, the Maenads would partake in ritualistic dances, drinking wine, and losing themselves in the divine madness that Dionysus inspired. The Maenads' behavior was both symbolic and real. Their wildness represented the breaking down of societal norms and the release of repressed desires. The Maenads would sometimes engage in violent acts, including tearing animals or even people apart, representing the god's power to cause both creation and destruction. These rituals allowed people to experience a catharsis through liberation and surrender, stepping outside the normal constraints of civilized life to embrace their untamed, primal nature. At the heart of Dionysus is a paradox. He embodies both the joy and madness of life. He brings people together through the joyous celebration of wine, music, and revelry. Yet he also represents the uncontrollable chaos that can emerge from excess, indulgence, and freedom. His domain is that of transformation, where the rigid structure of society can be dissolved, and people can become something wild, untamed, and new. In his myths, Dionysus often causes transformation, whether by turning people into animals, granting them visions, or freeing them from their normal state of being. Through Dionysus, individuals and communities experience both the heights of joy and the depths of madness, demonstrating the complex and ever-present tension between order and chaos, creation and destruction. Dionysus's legacy is one of liberation, creativity, and the exploration of human nature. He is a god who reminds both mortals and gods that there is power in freedom, in breaking from the bonds of convention, and in surrendering to the primal instincts that lie within all of us. His festivals, music, and celebrations represent the joyful release from restraint, while his connection to theater and performance allows humans to explore the deepest aspects of life, death, and everything in between. Today, Dionysus continues to be seen as a symbol of transformation, both creative and destructive, and the god who reminds us of the deep, untamed well of emotion and spontaneity that resides within us all. Dionysus is a god of joy, liberation, and wild energy. His ability to bring both ecstasy and madness, to inspire creativity and chaos, has made him one of the most captivating and influential figures in Greek mythology. Whether through his festivals, his connection to theater, or his power to transform the world around him, Dionysus represents the untamed and transformative forces of nature. His legacy endures as a symbol of joy, freedom, and the complex interplay between order and chaos. Thank you for joining us on this journey into Greek mythology. We've just explored the fascinating world of Greek mythology, where each god, goddess, and hero played a unique role in shaping the ancient world and influencing the lives of humans. From the mighty Zeus, king of the gods, to the wild and liberating Dionysus, the stories of these deities teach us not only about their immense power, but also about the essential values that guided the ancient Greeks. Each of the gods we covered has a special power and domain that impacted different aspects of both the natural and human worlds. Whether it was Athena, who personified wisdom and strategy, or Aphrodite, who brought love and beauty. Each deity had their own distinct personality and influence. The gods of Greek mythology weren't just symbols of strength or authority. They also taught us about profound moral values. Zeus and Hera gave us lessons on leadership and marriage. Hermes taught us about communication and cleverness. Hephaestus reminded us of the value of craftsmanship and resilience, while Dionysus showed us the importance of joy, creativity, and liberation. Their stories encompass everything from love, sacrifice, and justice to chaos, revenge, and transformation. Through their myths, we see how the ancient Greeks understood and celebrated the complexities of life. These gods and their adventures were reflections of human experiences, fears, and dreams, showing us that even in the divine, there were struggles and triumphs that mirrored our own. While these stories originated thousands of years ago, their impact is far from over. Greek mythology continues to be a major source of inspiration in modern literature, cinema, art, and pop culture. From movies like Wonder Woman and the Marvel Cinematic Universe to novels and television shows, these ancient gods still live on in the stories we tell today. They are more than just figures from history. They are part of the collective imagination, symbolizing universal themes and values that resonate with us even now. For instance, Zeus and Hera appear in countless stories about relationships and power dynamics, while Aphrodite and Eros are still central to romantic tales. Hercules, a demigod and hero of Greek mythology, has been retold in films, comics, and stage productions, demonstrating the enduring appeal of these larger-than-life characters. If you've enjoyed these amazing stories, I encourage you to continue your exploration of Greek mythology. There are countless other fascinating myths, heroes, and deities that we didn't have time to cover in this video. Start with Homer's epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey, to dive deeper into the world of Greek heroes and their adventures. You might also want to check out Hesiod's Theogony, which offers a comprehensive account of the origins of the gods and the creation of the world. These classic works are foundational to Western literature and provide much more insight into the lives and struggles of the gods. Also, if you're interested in the intersection of mythology and art, consider exploring how the gods have inspired famous works of sculpture, painting, and theater throughout history. Thank you so much for joining me in this deep dive into the world of Greek mythology. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss out on future explorations into mythology, history, and other fascinating topics. Hit the notification bell so you'll always be the first to know when a new video is out. Also, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know which Greek god or myth intrigued you the most, or if there's any particular story or figure you'd like to learn more about. I'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions for upcoming content. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, the world of mythology is vast and endlessly exciting. Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning. See you in the next video.